Think about how many times a day you do this. You show that something belongs to someone. It feels simple, right? But what if the one rule you learned about it, the most basic rule, is actually built on a giant, centuries-old mistake? Well, today, we're going to crack open that possession puzzle. You know the drill. We all learned it in school. If you want to show the car belongs to John, it's easy, right? John's car. You just tack on an apostrophe and an S. And that's it. Simple. Done. Or is it? Yeah, not so fast. Because what if I told you that this super simple rule, the apostrophe S we all use without thinking, might have started as a huge misunderstanding that just kind of stuck around for hundreds of years? So, for a long, long time, people, even smart scholars, thought that saying something like the Count's galleys was really just a lazy, shortened way of saying the Count his galleys. You can even see Shakespeare doing it right here. The idea was that the apostrophe wasn't showing ownership, it was showing a missing word, his. It's this incredible historical blunder that just became the rule. Wild, right? But that whole mix-up with the apostrophe, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. To get what's really going on with possession in English, we have to dig a little deeper into the apostrophe's very secret history. See, that historical confusion happened because people were trying to make sense of something much older and way more fundamental. The proper fancy grammar term for all this isn't just the possessive, it's the genitive case. And its job is way bigger than just showing who owns what. It's all about showing the relationship between two different things. So let's investigate this genitive case because, as we're about to see, it is about so much more than simple ownership. This is where things get really interesting, because the genitive is like a multi-tool that does a ton of heavy lifting in our language. Okay, so check this out. This is a huge point. Not all apostrophe S phrases mean the same thing. On one hand, you have the specifying genitive. It points to a particular owner. We're talking about that specific doctor's car. And you can hear it when you say it. There are two heavy beats, the doctor's car. But then you have the classifying genitive, which describes a type of thing. It's not a task that belongs to one giant. It's a certain kind of task. And listen to the stress now. Just one main beat, a giant's task. It's a subtle difference in sound, but a massive difference in meaning. And the variety is just incredible when you see it laid out like this. Sure, it can be possessive, like in my uncle's book. But in the boy's application, the boy is the subject. He's the one who applied. And in the family support, the family is the object. They're the ones being supported. It can show where something came from, like the general's letter, or just be descriptive, like a summer's day. It's basically a grammatical Swiss Army knife. Of course, that little apostrophe S isn't the only tool we have in the box. We've also got its biggest rival, the of construction. And this isn't a case of one being right and one being wrong. It's all about knowing which tool to grab for the job at hand. I mean, think about it. The king's speech and the speech of the king. They're both perfectly correct, but they feel different, don't they? One sounds a little more natural, more direct, while the other might sound a bit more formal, maybe even poetic. So what's the deal? How are you supposed to decide which one to use? Well, here's a general rule of thumb. The genitive, our friend the apostrophe S, is usually the best choice for people and for what we call higher animals. It just sounds right to say my sister's problems or the elephant's trunk. It's also the go-to for groups like the government, for concepts of time like an hour's work, and even for places like Europe's future. It's the perfect fit for things that feel personal or active. Now, the of construction is perfect for inanimate objects. We pretty much always say the leg of the table, not the table's leg. It also works better for lower animals, and it's absolutely essential for more complex phrases. I mean, just try saying the man I met yesterday's daughter. It's a mouthful. The daughter of the man I met yesterday is so much clearer. And sometimes this choice isn't just about style, it can completely flip the meaning. And this is a really profound example. When you say God's love, you're talking about the love that comes from God, directed at us. But when you say the love of God, you're usually talking about the love that we have for God. Same words, different structure, and a totally different relationship. It's pretty amazing. So we've got the genitives and we've got the of construction. But wait, there's more. English isn't even close to done. The language gives us even more ways to talk about these fundamental ideas of belonging and relationships. So beyond those two big structures, we have a whole set of words designed for exactly this purpose. You've got your possessive adjectives and pronouns like my and mine. We've got powerful direct verbs like have, own, and belong to. And of course, the language has a special question word, whose, that exists for one reason and one reason only, to find out who something belongs to. And even inside that group of verbs, there are these subtle little differences. To have something is pretty general, but to own it, that usually implies you bought it, you have a legal right to it. And to possess something, that can sound more formal, or it can be totally figurative, like being possessed by a feeling or a great idea. All right, so we've gone from one simple apostrophe S to this entire web of grammatical tools. So what? Why does it even matter that we understand all these different options? Well, just think about what we've covered. We've looked at the genitive case, the of construction, all those special adjectives and pronouns, a whole bunch of specific verbs, and even a dedicated question word. That's at least 5 totally distinct strategies our language has for talking about possession. That's a lot of firepower for just one idea. And here's the big takeaway. English doesn't really give you one simple rule for possession. It gives you a rich, versatile toolkit. And understanding the difference between the doctor's car and a giant's task, or knowing when to say God's love versus the love of God, that's what lets you communicate with more clarity, more power, and more precision. So, in the end, talking about possession isn't really just about who owns what. It's about defining the huge, complex network of relationships between everything in our world. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other simple grammar rules are out there just hiding an entire universe of complexity right under our noses?